We're reading the Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Khanda, chapter 7. Actually, we 1 minute. They're asking me a question here, which I have to answer. English. Okay. Okay, like that. Slaves. Prabhupada. Actually, we discussed this section when those of you who came on the Mayapur Yatra, we actually discussed this section. And responding to the request of Aisharya Shaubhadra Devi Dashi, she mentioned to me that not all of the listeners were there in Mayapur. And so she requested that I start again and cover those topics that we also discussed in Mayapur, and everyone can benefit from hearing these topics. And also those of you who attended the Mayapur Yatra, well, Sustrasha Shardadana Shabashadeva Kotaruchi Shanmahat Shavaya Punya Tirtana Shavaya in Sima Bhagavatam. It's explaining regular hearing Vasudeva Kotaruchi. You'll develop the Vasudeva Kotaruchi, the taste for hearing about Krishna. And in Krishna conscious, in the Bhagavad Gita, we performed the Gita Jayanti festival a few days ago. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhuya Kotaya Triptihi Srinvato Nashnimaname Ritam, Krishna and Arjuna are discussing, and Arjuna is requesting Krishna to carry on and Bistarain Atmana Jogam Vibhutim Charjana. You describe in detail again and again the science of Krishna consciousness. Bhuya Kotaya Triptihi, my desire is never satiated. In other words, he's saying we can never hear enough. Always. I never had enough hearing. So as you're hearing it again, certainly you will benefit. So this is the 7th chapter. Text 1. Text 1, yeah. Some honorary glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Jai Jaya, Maheshwara, Gaura Chandra, Jai Jai, Vishwamba, Priya Bhakta Brinda. So, glories to the Mahamaheshwara, Gaura Chandra, the Supreme Controller of all the worlds, the Lord of all lords, Mahamaheshwara, Gaura Chandra, Jai Jai, Vishwamba, Priya Bhakta Brinda. All glories to the Vishwambar, Priya Bhakta Brinda, to the devotees who are the Lord's Vishwambar's beloved devotees. All glories to them. And by remembering the eternal associates of the Lord, we're purified. Gaurangya Shongi, Gone Nitashita Korimane, Shajai Brajenda Shutapash. Just by considering Gauranga Shongi Gon, the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauranga Shongi Gone Nitashita Korimane. By considering them, the Nitashita, eternally liberated souls who simply appear in different bodies, different dress, to participate in the pastimes of the Lord. So all glories to thee. Vishwamba Priya Bhakta Brinda. When he was young, now we're looking at that he's beginning to hear, this is still in a Bal Lila. He's still under 5 years old, we'll hear. And specifically, it'll be mentioned in this chapter, his behavior as a young child in dealing with Vishwarup, his brother. This chapter is called Vishwarup Sannyas. And he was very naughty. He was a young child and he was very naughty. He paid not even the slightest attention to the efforts of Shachimata and Jagannath Mishra to correct him. He didn't take anything they said seriously. And he would just break things. He would break things gleefully. He would just, in the house, things he would destroy, and he couldn't be reproached, he couldn't be corrected. So eventually Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata, they just gave up in exhaustion. Trying to correct him. They just lost, they refrained from trying to give him further instruction. It was too frustrating for them. Adikonda Kota, J. Amrit Shraban, in this Adikonda, where the Shishu Rupe is a form of a young child. Adikonda Kota, Jaina Amrit Shraban, Jahin Shishu Rupe, in the form of a small child. Kore Narayan, Kridda Kore Narayan. He's playing as a small child. The Supreme Lord of Vaikuntha assumes the form of a young child, the Shishu Rupe, and he's Kridda Kore Narayan, just having fun and games. And these descriptions are Amrit Shravan. Vrindavan Das Thakur is describing it. These are Amrit Shravan. There's nectarian topics for hearing, like nectar to the ears. These childhood pastimes of Lord Hari. The Pita Mata Kahare na kore bhai, na kore Prabhu bhai. Na kore Prabhu bhai. He's not afraid of Pita Mata Kahare. Whatever they say, he doesn't take seriously. Vishwarup Agraja Dekile Namrahoy. But he didn't listen, he didn't pay any, no concern about whatever his parents said. Prabhu Nabhoy. Vishwarup Agraja. But his elder brother, Agraja, Vishwarup, his elder brother, Vishwarup is around about 9 or 10 years older than Gauranga. So Gauranga here is maybe 3 or 4 years old, or maybe 5, or somewhere in that area. And Vishwarup, he must be 13 or 14 or 15 years old. So Vishwarup Agraja Dekile Namrahoy. If you'd even see Vishwarup, then he becomes soft and humble. So in other words, he didn't care for anything that Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata said. But when Vishwarup, anything Vishwarup said or anything Vishwarup did, or when Vishwarup came, immediately he became namra. He became soft and very humble. So our Vishwarup, we know that he is an expansion of Lord Nityananda. And almost the same time that Lord Nityananda himself appeared in Ekachakra, it's about 3-4 hours drive from Mayapur. So when he appeared in Ekachakra, around about the same time, Vishwarup, that's Mahaprabhu's elder brother in Mayapur, Vishwarup Mahashai, is the first, he was the first son born to Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata. Now it's interesting to note that before Vishwarup was born, actually Sachimata gave birth to eight children, 8 daughters. Huh? Did you know that? She gave birth to 8 daughters, and they all passed away. And then so they were greatly elated when the son was born and Vishwarup and Nityananda's expansion. And in many subtle ways, sometimes we say, oh, actually when another point of interest is that Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they met for the first time. They met when Nityananda Prabhu was 32 years old. Nityananda Prabhu was already 32 years old when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda met. And that Lila is described in the Madhya Lila of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. the first meeting of Lord Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's in a temple just beside ISKCON. It's called the what is that place? That temple. It's just behind ISKCON, Nishodham temple. Just the name of that place. Trying to remember. Is that the house of Nandanacharya? Nandanacharya. That's an interesting temple. It's just behind ISKCON. If you go from ISKCON, there's a road from Goshala. There's a road that goes all the way to the Bhaktisiddhanta Marga and the Ganga. The road goes all the way along ISKCON. The back there's the Kunti Bhavan where the ladies stay, elderly ladies, and then you come to the housing area. And then you keep going along that road and you see other buildings, the Dayaram Prabhu's building, and you come out. Now, just on the right-hand side, that area where the Dayaram and Alai Govinda, they built big buildings there on that road as you're going out. So just opposite that, on the other side of the street, which has the entrance on the main road, and the back road is another backside. So that whole area there, it's called Nandanacharya Bhavan. That was a temple that was built in the 1950s by one of Prabhupada's godbrothers. He actually had left the world before Prabhupada had got to the West, but he was appreciative of his godbrother Prabhupada. And that's a very nice temple. And there are many samadhis there of disciples of Sanatana Saraswati Thakur, sannyasis, advanced Vaishnavas, and many of their samadhis are in that temple. And that place is the first place that Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya met. And Lord Chaitanya had a dream. And he said that there's a great person who's come to Navadip. And I want you to go and find him and bring him here. And then all the devotees, they looked all over Navadip. They went everywhere. And they couldn't find Lord Nityananda. And even they went to the houses on the edge of town. They came back and we say, we looked everywhere. We in every house. We couldn't find this person, this great person that you're thinking about, that you're telling us about. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes. This great person is not so easy to find, not so easy to meet and see this person. And then Lord Chaitanya, then next day he went directly to Nandanacharya Bhavan, and Lord Nityananda came, and they met. So that's interesting that it's such a significant relationship. But Lord Nityananda was already 32 years old, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time was around 20 when he went to Gaya and came back, got with initiation, and then began the Sankirtan in Sriraj Thakur's house. So then Lord Nityananda came. Actually, he was waiting. Lord Nityananda, he was born in Ekachakra, and he stayed there for 12 years. And then one sannyasi came and requested, we'll discuss this a little later in detail, but he requested an assistant, and he requested that Harai Pandit, the father of Lord Nityananda, Harai Pandit, he requested him that he stayed one night, and then the next day he's leaving, and he said, I have a request. And Harai Pandit said, yes, Mahashai, whatever you, the sannyasi came to Ekachakra, whatever you desire, give me an opportunity to fulfill. And he said, well, I need an assistant, so you kindly give me your son as a brahmachari assistant, and we'll travel for some days, he said. Of course, it was devastating that he'd requested this. Harai Pandit was devastated. But what could he do? How could he refuse the request of a sannyasi who'd come to his home? So he discussed with his wife, and she said, Prabhu, whatever you decide. And he gave Lord Nityananda to that sannyasi, and he left. And even the residents of Ekachakra, when they heard Lord Nityananda was gone, they were just completely destroyed. And they said, why you didn't give our son? We've lost Nityananda. Well, you could have asked me. I would have given my son. But, we keep Lord Nityananda in Ekachakra. So everyone was completely despondent. And then Harai Pandit, he couldn't eat. He didn't eat or drink for several months. Everyone just said, Harai Pandit has become mad. haunted. And after a while, he left his body. He couldn't take it anymore. So Lord Nityananda left, and he traveled with that sannyasi, not with the sannyasi, sometime with the sannyasi, and then on his own for 20 years. He left when he was 12, and he traveled for 20 years. And then he was in Vrindavan, and he was waiting to get the message that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had begun the Sankirtan movement. He was waiting for that whole time. And then he went. He wasn't preaching. He wasn't preaching Krishna consciousness. He was just an itinerant mendicant sannyasi. And then he heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had began the Sankirtan movement. Prior to that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Lila, where he was teaching Nimai Pandit, and he wasn't engaging in Sankirtan, chanting Hare Krishna. Of course, he was Vaishnava. He was at home, but a deity of Adhokshaja Vishnu, we saw at the Yoga Pit, and a Damodar Shila is mentioned. They were worshipping in Jagannath Mishra's house, and Nimai was also participating in that worship. And Vishwarup, he would do the puja every day, to get up, take Ganga Snan, and do the puja every day. And apart from that, he wasn't interested in material life. So Vishwarup actually departs around this time. And then there's a period of time when he's not there. And then Lord Nityananda comes to Mayapur. This is 15 years later after this incident. And then they were in Mayapur together preaching. Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya were in Mayapur preaching for 4 years. Ishikaniya Shabnadi Fiche Neche Gaunita Radha Krishna Bol Bolare Shabai. Ishikaniya Shabnadi Fiche Neche Gaunita. So taking the Krishna consciousness preaching, Radha Krishna Bolo Radha Krishna, was it Radha Krishna Bolare Shabai? This is their preaching. Ishikaniya Shabnadiya means all the Navadip area. This teaching, Radha Krishna Bolo, Shange Chalo, Radha Krishna Bolare Shabai, this teaching, Ishikaniya Shabnadiya Fiche Neche Gaunitai. So for a period where they're preaching in Mayapur and Navadip, which we see many important leelas, the deliverance of Jagai Madhai, the advance and marching on the house of the Chankazi, to give some examples. The wedding of the Vyasa Puja of Lord, all these Navadip pastimes. And we see the pictures of Gaunitai dancing. Gaunitai dancing, actually that's such a significant relationship and such significant events. But actually they were together preaching in Navadip only for 4 years. And then when Mahaprabhu took sannyas, of course, Lord Nityananda played a key role in that. He was there in the sannyas ceremony. And then he brought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Navadip, to Shantipur, just after Mahaprabhu's sannyas. And then so many devotees from Navadip came. And there were some pastimes for 10 days. For 10 days, Kirtan Gorite Prabhu Sharva Bhabudoy. In those kirtans in Shantipur, Mahaprabhu, they hear the kirtan Korite Prabhu Sharva Babu Doy. Immediately he would hear the kirtan and join the kirtan Sava Bhab Udoy. And all of the mellows, all of the emotions of loving Krishna would immediately Udoy. They would immediately erupt. They would manifest in his body. What's that? Sava Babu Udoy. Stamba. Hash, what is that? Kampa, Pulaka Ashru, Gadgara Pralay. He would sometimes be stumba like a pillar, stunned, stumba, harsha, laughing, kampa, quivering of the body, gadgada is rolling on the ground and choking of the voice, gadgada pralay, and then devastation. All of these, you imagine those kirtans? Everybody knew that Goswami was leaving for sannyas. And so they were so extraordinarily wonderful kirtans, and so full of emotion. The devotees didn't know whether they'd even see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again. And then there was discussion that Sachimata requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reside in Puri so that she can get news. And she said to Mahaprabhu, do not do like Vishwarup, who took sannyas. They're describing in this chapter. So Vishwarup, whatever special relationship he had with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadip, Mayapur. Prabhu Agraja Vishwarup Bhagwan. Prabhu Agraja, Mahaprabhu's elder brother, Vishwarup Bhagwan. He's described as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being a manifestation, an expansion of Nityananda Prabhu. Ajanma Birokta Sharava Guner Nidhan. This is text number 7 or 8. 9 of chapter 7. Prabhu Agraja Vishwarup Bhagavan. The Lord's elder brother, Vishwarup, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ajanma Birakta, from birth, Ajanma Birakta, he's detached. From time of birth, he's detached. Sarva Gunya Nidhan. He is the reservoir, the treasure, Sarva Gunya Nidhan, the reciprocal, the storehouse of Sarva Gunya, of all good qualities, all good qualities. Shravane Bodhane Mode Sharvendriya Gone, by hearing, Shravane, Bodhane, by speaking, Mone, by thinking, Sarvendriya Gune, Sharvendriya Gune, with all of his senses, Sarvendriya Gune, with all of his senses, Sarvendriya Gune, Krishna Bhakti Bine Ar Nahi, Ar Na Bole Na Shune. So with all of his senses, with his hearing, with his speaking, with his thinking, Krishna Bhakti Bine, that those things which are apart from Krishna Bhakti Bine, are na bole na shune. He wouldn't speak, he wouldn't hear. This actually is the definition of a pure devotee. There's a definition of a pure devotee. And these things you can see that these are all, there's no mystery. These are all observable characteristics. So why is it mentioned? Because you can recognize an advanced devotee. Can recognize it's not that it's some mysterious thing you just have to accept and everybody accepts and there's no evaluation system. No. Here there is Sarvendriya Gone, with all of the senses, Sarvendriya Gone, Krishna Bhakti Bine, apart from serving Krishna, apart from pleasing Krishna with all the senses, na bole na shune. He doesn't speak anything, he doesn't hear anything, he doesn't do anything. So pure means that the senses are exclusively used to give satisfaction to Rishikesh, Srihari, the master of the senses. They're his. That's a pure devotee. Unalloyed. There's nothing interest for myself. It's unalloyed. Shuddha bhakta. There's no mix. Something for Krishna, something for me. I have to consider my interest. No. When there's no more my interest, when there's only Krishna's interest, and the senses in his body are simply used to please Krishna, principally by chanting and hearing, right? Shabane, Varane, Mone, hearing, Varane, speaking, and Mone, thinking. Particularly, this is the foundational way of serving Krishna. You speak about Krishna, you hear about Krishna. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Koraya Udoy, based on hearing. Hearing is the fundamental method. Shravanadi, based on hearing, Shuddha Chitte, the heart becomes pure. Koraya Udoy, and the natural dormant love of God, it erupts, it awakens, becomes aroused, becomes to manifest, or awakens in the heart. Principally as a result of Shravan, hearing. That's described in Rupshikha, chapter 20 of Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Koraya Uday. Principal medicine is hearing. And when we chant Hare Krishna, that's also hearing. That's what the medicine is, that you have to hear, not that you're just chanting and as we say, I'm chanting my rounds. It means I start at the first beat, I keep going till I get to the end beat. That's it. I chanted the round, keep that counted, and I chant the next round. No, actually, that's not the process. The process is that you have to hear. Not that you chant and whatever your mind is, it doesn't matter as long as you're chanting. No, you have to actually be focused on that chanting and have to hear that. That's actually japa. That you hear your own chanting, you focus on the sound. So we call that chanting japa, but actually it's hearing the holy name. It's not the matter of complete the rounds, it's a matter of I got to the last beat. We chant like that. We start the round and we're thinking, oh, maybe I'm 1/4 of the way through. And maybe I'm halfway through now. Maybe I'm 3/4 way, and then you check. Yeah, it's only that many beads left. I'm getting closer to the end. Yeah, to 10 round. 10, 10, 9, 8, 7. 7. Yes, I finished the round. We're chanting. We're just thinking about the whole time to finish the round. But actually, that we should be thinking, hearing the sound. So look at the character of Vishwarup. He was a young man. He's 13, 14, 15 years old, and he's completely pure devotee. Completely pure devotee. He's only speaking about Krishna, hearing about Krishna. All of his senses are simply used in the service of Krishna. That's pure devotee. So those symptoms can be seen. You can hear the person, what comes out of their mouth, what they speak. That's where their consciousness is. So you can recognize the person's advancement by these things. What they're speaking, what their mind is absorbed in, and their active devotional practice. You can see all that. They dance, they offer the bhoga, they honor prasadam, they sit with Vaishnavas, they serve Vaishnavas. You see all these things. It's the symptoms of advanced devotee. And it's up to you. It's not that we just rely upon institutional bureaucracy. It's not you have to look at the person's character and then recognize their advancement and desire to associate with them. They may not even have a big position in ISKCON. They may not have a position. They may not be an ISKCON leader, a GBC, or whatever, local leaders. Or you have to recognize, you have to make the individual evaluation based on these things, what they're speaking, what they're hearing, what their mind is absorbed in, and their sensual activity. The sensual activity, what they do with their senses. Archana, prachar, is worshiping the deity. They go on preaching activities, preaching, book distribution, and other preaching, some bhakti briksha programs, some classes, some training program. You have to look how much they're absorbed in these activities. That reflects where their mind is at. And the more absorbed, the more the person's senses are surrendered to the service of Krishna, the more exclusive, then the more advanced that devotee is. And so you can recognize, you take association. Sangat Sanjayate Kama, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that by association you develop desire. Sangat Sanjayate Kama, by association your desires develop. They're produced by association. So when you associate with a devotee that's absorbed in Krishna consciousness and has a strong desire to serve Krishna, and if it exclusively uses the senses for that purpose, you take association of that devotee. It will affect you. It will affect you. Actually, I joined this movement in 1985, and I never met Prabhupada or saw Prabhupada, but I was affected by the committed followers of Prabhupada that were in the Melbourne Mahaprabhu Mandir. In fact, I never met people. I never met anyone that was so committed to any idea. Everybody else, it was either their job or their hobby, and that's life. And then they go to work and they eat and have family. That's their life. Their level of absorption in a particular objective or a particular ideal, I'd never seen that until I met the devotees, Prabhupada's disciples, many of them. But they were so committed. They give their life every day. Go to the temple, Mangalati. They start every day, and then from then on, the rest of the day, all day serving Krishna. So by meeting those devotees and associating with them, it had a big effect on me. And I thought, why am I wasting this human form of life when I could be living like that? I could be living a spiritual life every day, completely absorbed. And then possibly I can perfect my life and go back to Godhead as a result of behaving like that. But I never would have thought of that until I met people who are actually doing it. Okay, the books, Prabhupada says, the books that Tadbhag Visharga Janadaga Biplava. That these descriptions found in the Srimad Bhagavatam is a verse from the 5th chapter in Canto 1. It's Narad Muni preaching to Vyas. And he says, Tadbhag Visharga Janataga Biplava. These words, these descriptions, they're powerful enough to Janataga Biplava, create a revolution in the lives of the people in general. Janataga, the sinful people. Janataga, and sinful people, sinful society. They're all sinning. And every day they're eating. If it's not prasadam, that's also sinning. So I said, why waste my life in such a boring and such a mediocre and such an uneventful way of lifestyle, with just mundane, and at the end you die and you come back again. Same thing. May not even be human life. So why do that? Why live like? Why not work now and work on becoming a purified soul, and with like these people who are actually doing this and for many years, and change my life to becoming a spiritual life, and take up regular association and service of these devotees. Bhakata Sheva Paramashiti. Just by serving Vaishnavas, Bhakata Sheva Paramashiti. That's the highest perfection. So it's all just theoretical philosophy of Krishna consciousness unless you're associating with practicing devotees. And then that will have a big effect on you. You become inspired, you become empowered, you become convinced, you live with them, you associate with them regularly, and have a big effect on your consciousness. So therefore, the symptoms are described. So you can select, you can recognize, you can discriminate, you can recognize, and you can voluntarily take association of advanced devotees. It's very powerful. Sustrasha bhajana vijnanananda shunyari riddhim ipshita shangalabdha upadeshamrita. I believe many of you are Bhakti Shastri students, or even graduates, even teaching. So there it mentions Upadeshamrita. Text number 5. Shushya bhajana vigyan anananda shunya riddhim ipshita. That those who advanced in bhajana bigyan, and the nindari ridoi, the no inclination, no interest in blaspheming the devotees. Sushusha bhajana bigyan ananda, as ananda bhajana bigyan, they advanced in unalloyed devotional practice. That those devotees, ipshita shanga labdha. Ipshita shanga. You should be desiring their association. Ipshita shanga labdha, to get their association. It's not that if by chance I meet, then okay, Jai Prabhu, hi Bo, oh, nice to see you. No, ipshita shanga. You have to go out of your way to get their association. Ipshita shanga, desiring their shanga labdha, to get their association. You should desire, and you go. You have to go and see and meet. Find out where they are. If they come to your city, you have to fly, go and see. Or you regularly associate with devotees, you'll find many advanced devotees in the association in the local temple community. So you should desire to serve those devotees and desire to associate. Ipshita shanga labdha, to get their association. If you can serve them, if you find ways to serve advanced devotees, even if it's dadati pratigrinati, giving gifts, and accepting that what they give, dadati pratigrinati. So many times the preachers at the class, at the end of class, they'll hand out prasadam. Prabhupada would do that. He'd cut an apple and hand everyone the prasadam. Why? Because that's very intimate association. It's mentioned by Rupa Goswami. Dadati pratigrinati. You give them and you receive, you accept whatever they offer. Or you give dokina, the donation. It's easy. You walk up and give. Have it in an envelope. That's even you heard of a moment. Give a gift. Give some tilak, give some ganga jal, give some prasadam, dry prasadam, give some whatever. And pratigrinati, you accept. Tadati pratigri, guyam akyati prichiti. You discuss. You sit in the class and you ask question. Akyati prichiti, on important topics. You can't just ask any normal man on the street or woman or shopkeeper. You reveal the questions, your doubts. Guyam akyati prichiti. You hear and you explain, you hear. Inspirational topics can also be discussed. That's called Guya Makiti Prichiti. Bhunkte Bojayate. Bhunkte Bojayate. You accept prasadam that they offer, Bhunkte. I remember I joined the Melbourne Mahaprabhu Temple in 1985. And first time I went for a Sunday feast program. And there wasn't so many people coming in those days. And so we'd just be in the temple room. We hear the class for Sunday feast. And then just where we were sitting in the temple room, the prasadam plate would come. They'd hand it. Now we have big prasadam hall and everything, system and everything. So many thousands of people in most of our temples. But then it was small, 100, 150 people come to the program. So I remember that there was a president of the temple, named Balaram Prabhu. He was Prabhupada's disciple. And so he was there in the temple and he was handing the plate to every visitor. He was put the plate in front of you. And that prasadam that was being handed, like it was handed from one devotee to another, from where the prasadam containers where they make the plate. pass it to a devotee, he'd pass it to another devotee, he'd pass it to, and then come into the temple room, and another devotee would take it to the president, he would take it and put it in front of every guest. Because I'd never seen such attention and concern and service. I've never seen people that actually were interested to serve the guests in that way. So that was very remarkable. And we were benefited so much, not just because we were taking prasadam, which is offered to deities that Prabhupada installed, Sisi Radha Ballabh, Nitya Gauchandra, he installed those deities, and Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. So the Mahaprasad from those deities, that feast is offered to the Radha Ballabh Mahaprasad. So that's very special prasadam. But in addition, there's so many devotees that take touching that plate, so you're also getting affected by their association. Because it says, Bhunkte Bhojayate, to eat what they hand you, what they offer, and Bhojayate, to feed also. Invite devotees to your home and feed them. Sadvidha Priti Lokon. This is the way you associate with devotees. You hear, you accept whatever they offer, you give gifts, you hear their preaching, you hear their discussing Krishna conscious philosophy, you ask questions, and then you eat what they hand you. You eat how you let them feed you, and you feed them. This is what he says, Sadvida Priti Lokon. These are the 6 ways devotees express and share affection. So there it is. You don't even have to speculate how to associate. These 6 items you do. So Vishwarup is in Nirabadhi Take Shardava Vaishnaver Shange. He constantly, without interruption, Nirabadhi Take, he stays Shardava Vaishnaver Shange, in the association of all the Vaishnavas. He was constantly taking that association. Nirabadhi Take Vaishnaver Shange, Krishna Kota, Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Puja Range. So constantly associating with the Vaishnavas. Krishna Kota, discussing Krishna. Krishna Bhakti, that's serving the Lord, serving Krishna. Krishna Bhakti, devoted to Krishna. Krishna Puja Range, worshipping Krishna. And enjoying that Range, enjoying that Krishna Puja. So that was his life. No material activity. Always associating with devotees, hearing about Krishna, talking about Krishna, serving Krishna, worshipping the deity of Krishna. So that's what the human life is meant for. If you're always in association with the devotees, what will you do? You'll do these things because that's what they're doing. And so that's how you become a devotee. You associate, even you may not have such inclination. You may not be very advanced in consciousness, but Sarva Vaishnava Shange Nirabadi Taki, if you, as much as possible, if you associate with Vaishnavas, then you'll become advanced. You'll become like them. Just like we had Yatra, you came to Mayapur. That's an even more intense association because you're coming and you're doing something together. Yatra. Actually, for many years now, perhaps even 10 years, every year I'm invited on Yatra with the devotees from Mathura Desh. Mathura Desh. It's in Middle East. And they all live there. They come occasionally. Some live from Bangalore, some from other South Indian cities, some from Kerala, Coimbatore, some from Chennai. But they all work in the Middle East. And then they have every year these yatras around about Rath Yatra time when they have holidays, school holiday. And every year they invite me. And even though it's a little austere, it's a long bus drive, it's so much enjoyment we have. We look forward to that. Every year they invite me. I do kirtan and do discussion. And I've been to so many, with these devotees, we've been to so many extraordinary places. All of the Chardam, the tourist Chardam, Gangotri, Jamunotri, Kedarnath, Badrinath, we've been there. That's actually not really the Chardam. The Vaishnav Chardam is not that. That's what the Delhi tourist companies, they created that. Out of those, the actual Chardam is Badrinath. The others are not mentioned as Vaishnava. Of course they are, but not the Chardam. Chardam is the four ashrams and monasteries that were created by Shankaracharya when he was present on the planet 1,000 years ago, 800 years ago, Shankaracharya. So he created a mott, Shankara mott in Jagannath Puri. Shankara mott. And that Shankaracharya, he comes to Jagannath Rath Yatra. If he comes before, if he's not there, they don't start. That's Puri Shankaracharya.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Looks like a signal is stuck up. Hare Krishna, just wait.
Hare Krishna. Came back on a different connection now. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So the actual Chardham Yatra for Vaishnavas is the Puri Shankaramat, and then Rameshwaram in South India, Rameshwaram. There is also the Shankaramat, and then the other one is Dwarka, the Krishna Mandir in Dwarka. There is also Shankaramat, and the other is Badrinath. So those places, Badrinath, Jagannath Puri, Rameshwaram, and Dwarka. That's actual Chardham, Vaishnav Chardham Yatra. Jagannath Puri, Rameshwaram, Dwarka, and Badrinath. So there you go. And down in South India, there's Sri Vaishnavas in South India. Actually, they're all expected to go to Badrinath. And the pujaris in Badrinath, they know Tamil. They know Tamil. Sri Vaishnavas, Ramanuja Charja had influence there. And so the Tamil Sri Vaishnavas, they go to Badrinath. So you associate, so Prikrama. So we've been to so many exotic places, all of these places for years, 10 years we're going on those Prikrama, everywhere you can imagine. You know, we went to Somnath temple, where Arjuna was dressed as a sannyasi and attracted the attention of Subhadra and married her. That's in Somnath temple in Dwarka. And then Badrinath, so many Lilas there. Nityananda Prabhu went there. Madhvacharya, he went there and he went up into the Himalayas and took lessons from Vyasadeva in Bhagavad Gita, Badrinath. Rameshwaram, there's a temple there. You go around and bathe in 108 wells, Rameshwaram. And of course, Jagannath Puri. So all of these places, every year they take us to amazing places. And they're very interesting, very enlivening. And when you live with the devotees for a week, and every day you take prasadam together, you're sleeping in close by, and every day traveling, you develop relationships with those devotees. And they're very powerful. They have a very powerful effect on you when you have a friend as a devotee. And the closer those friendships are, the more impact it's having on your development of consciousness. That traveling on yatras and also doing service together. The relationships I have. In fact, here I'm in Vrindavan. I've come here for a few days because a dear friend is here leaving his body. And we were his devotee. He joined at the same time as me in 1985. And we had so many relationships. We had so much service together. We had Sankirtan, book distribution, traveling different countries. We were doing Sankirtan and preaching. And you develop such affection for those devotees because you're serving Krishna together. And there's so much like-minded. You have such intimate relationship. You can't have that with a normal person. The mundane relationships, you can't really trust the people. Can't fully trust them because they're a materialist. Ultimately, their sense gratification is the most important thing to them. So there's incompatibility in the relationship. So when you have a deep friendship with devotees, is we can be so intimate because we have shared values. We won't eat anything unless it's prashadam. We'll get up early, go to the temple, we chant our rounds, we follow the principles, we preach. So shared values. So you can intimately have a deep relationship with those people. And it's very amazing support to your Krishna consciousness. So for that reason, I've come here. Because he's only here for a few weeks more, probably. But such association is so valuable that I came here specifically for that reason. I'll never see him again. So just to have some more association. Have a person who's actually convinced of the philosophy. He's a Westerner. He could be in the Western countries in big, wonderful hospitals with so much facility and so much prescription painkillers and surrounded by doctors and nurses. But he actually come to Vrindavan, even though there's medical facilities are much less. But he's come here because he realizes if he can leave his body in Vrindavan, he'll go back to Godhead. So a person is completely convinced of the Krishna conscious philosophy and is living that in his life and made major decisions based on those conclusions. So when you associate with that person, it has a big effect on you. So here, Vrindavan Das Thakur, he's describing the symptoms of Vishwarup, so that helps us to recognize an advanced devotee who you can associate with, you should associate with, serve with them, even if you can become their friend. So now he's describing it's text number 17, chapter 7. He's describing the concern that the Vaishnavas had for the people in general who were not practicing devotional service, even in Navadip, where Mahaprabhu appeared, which is already on the banks of the Ganga. So many great sages, so many scholars, Vaishnavas, so many pundits, so many pure devotees that actually were there by this time. Subhash Thakur, Advaita Thakur, Haridas Thakur. They're all in Mayapur doing Sankirtan even when Mahaprabhu was born. So even in such a place with so many advanced Vaishnavas and the Mahaganga, but still many people were completely averse and not interested in Krishna consciousness at all. Jagat Pramatta, that means that those who are mad in the material life. Jagat Pramatta, Dan Putra Bidda Roshe, they're absorbed in Dan Putra, in money and son, money and family. Roshe, they're absorbed in the taste, in the taste of Dan Putra, of money, of family, and interesting, it says Vidya. Vidya. So that means that Mayapur is such a place that even the materialistic people are absorbed in money and family. Dan Putra Pramata, Jagat Pramata, Dan Putra, but also in learning. in Mayapur, even the materialistic people, they're still learned scholars. When he says Vidya, he doesn't mean learning Microsoft Excel or learning accounting. No, it means Shastra. There was no training in those things in those days, 500 years ago in Bengal. Learning, education means scriptural study. The scripture, they learn the language and then they study the scriptures. There are so many scriptures and all different topics: health, Ayurveda, Dharma, the Juddha politics. It's all in scripture, Dharma Shastras. So they're not devotees, but still they're learned scholars in the scripture. Jagat Pramata, Dan Putra Vidrashe, Vaishnav Dekile Matro Ushabe Upahashe. When they'd see the devotees, they would ridicule them. So the devotees are thinking how unfortunate they are. We were just explaining, we were spending quite some time describing the power of devotional association and how to recognize an advanced devotee. And these people are there completely, when they'd see the devotees, they would upahasha, they'd make fun of them. So how unfortunate is that? They would say to the Vaishnavas, they would say, oh, you drench yourself in tears of spiritual emotion, but we don't see any sign of your poverty being alleviated. So you're such fools. You waste so much time in your devotional practice, but look, you're living in the poorhouse. What's the point? And you're chanting Hari Hari, you're just disturbing the Lord. So that they would criticize, they would minimize the devotees in this way. A motto, bhole Krishna bhakti shunna jane. So Krishna bhakti shunna jane, those who are devoid of devotion to Krishna. A motto bhole, they would speak in this way. Shuni mahadukha pai bhagavat ghane. And when the Vaishnavas would hear them speaking in this way, ridiculing the practices of devotional service, Shune Maha Dukkapai, the devotees that they experience great unhappiness, great pain. Maha Dukkapai Bhagavat Gone, the devotees of the Lord, when they hear these people criticize devotional practice in this way, they become greatly pained. Dukkha Bharapai Vishwarup Bhagavan Na Shune Abhishta Now, amongst all the devotees, Vishwarup Dukkha Bharapai, he was very, very sorry. Boro Dukkha Bharapai Vishwarup Bhagavan. He was even the most, it hurt him, it caused concern for him even more so than the other devotees. Vishwarup. Na Shune Abhishta Krishna Chandra Akyan. Not hearing Abhishta Krishna Chandra, his worshipable, his beloved, Abhishta Krishna Chandra Akyan, not hearing the Krishna Chandra Akyan, the descriptions of his beloved Krishna Chandra, not hearing that in the association of these materialistic people, not hearing them talk about Krishna and hear about Krishna, that caused great sorrow to Vishwarup. Gita Bhagavat JJ Janebar Porai, those who taught the Gita and the Bhagavatam, the so-called scholars, Krishna Bhakti Vyaka Korana Aishe Jibai. Gita Bhagavat JJ Janebar Porai Krishna Bhakti Vyaka Korana Aishe Jibai. So even though they would teach the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, Krishna Bhakti Vyaka, descriptions about devotional service, Krishna Bhakti Vyaka, Karonai Aishe Bijari, never Jibai, never appeared on their tongues. They were so-called teachers of the Bhagavad and Bhagavad Gita, but never would you hear Krishna's glories on their tongues. Dukhe Vishwarup Prabhu Mone Mone Gone. So in his mind, he would say to himself, Dukhe, in great unhappiness, Dukhe Vishwarup Prabhu Mone Mone Gone. In his mind, he was constantly repeating and thinking of this, that, and saying in his mind, Na Deki Bo Log Mukhe Chole Jai Bone. So he's saying it's better that I don't even see these people. Na dekibo, log mukhe, the faces of these materialistic people, na dekibo, it's better not to see. Chole jai bone, so I'll go to the forest. So here now we're beginning to hear the descriptions of contemplating his sannyas, and he will accept sannyas, and how that's explained and description of that we'll be discussing in next week. And next week we'll be able to have the call. I'll be in Australia, but at this time it's around about noon time in Australia, so we'll be able to conduct the classes next week for the next few weeks, next month or so in Australia, same time, but it'll be noon time for me. And we'll hear more about the circumstances under which Vishwarup Prabhu took sannyas and the effect that had on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of the other devotees in Navadip. So are there any questions on the topics discussed today?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Very keen to know. Actually, it was interesting why Vishwarup took sannyas is really interesting because Chaitanya
Isn't it
Mahaprabhu
amazing?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. There was a real purpose, he was preaching, but Vishwarupa ended preaching. He disappeared. So
that's right. That's right. And he will hear that no one hears of him again, and later he just travels to the holy places and of course this all has significance. Nityananda Prabhu and everything, they're all there to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then subsequently, that his accepting sannyas, that's mentioned several times in subsequent Lilas, the fact that he accepted sannyas. When Sachimata comes to Shantipur, after Gaushunda's sannyas, the first thing she says is, do not do like Vishwarup, who took sannyas and we never heard anything again. And then, that's one reason it's mentioned. So in other words, that's the precursor to the whole of Mahaprabhu. The Sachimata, she has a valid point that your older brother took sannyas and we never heard from him again. So you're okay, you take sannyas. I don't want you to be ridiculed that you took sannyas and gave it up, but you have to go to Puri because then I'll get news. So then that's why Mahaprabhu went to Puri, because Vishwarup took sannyas. And then in Puri, when he's in Puri, having arrived and liberated Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and then Mahaprabhu says, I'll go to South India to search out Vishwarup. I don't know where he is, but I'm going to go and find Vishwarup. So that they can't refuse, that's the reason. And he goes preaching in South India for 2 years. So yeah, Vishwarup Sannyas, it's a very interesting element in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes.
Yeah, good.
And we'll hear more about his sannyas. Go on.
No, I'll not like to add. No, I was just saying Krishna's free in his activities, but he's never dogmatic. So there are a lot of deep reasons why he did that. So,
isn't it? Yeah, everything's based upon emotion and devotional consideration rather than other points.
Then what are the 8 daughters dying before? What is there any, just like Krishna has 6 children dying before him? There was a significance.
Yeah, there is.
What are these?
Yeah, there is a significance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a significance. I have to go and remember. It's mentioned in detail much later in Chaitanya Bhagavat, but it's like these different persons that they were devotees, but they committed some aparad, so they had to take birth in the material world. So they just took birth and then died. Okay. I can't remember the full details, but that was something like that. I can find out. I'll mention it last week. I'll mention it next week, and I'll find out the details of that.
And this always wonders me, this name of the sannyasi who took Harai, Nityananda Prabhu, is it Lakshmipati Tirtha? Who is this person?
It may be mentioned somewhere, maybe mentioned it's not mentioned in in Vrindavan, in Chaitanya Bhagavat, which is, as I mentioned, he's traveling for 20 years and where he went. And that's actually 2 chapters after this. And then all of those details that's described in, it's not mentioned his name, that sannyasi. It may be mentioned somewhere else, but not in Chaitanya Bhagavat.
Always this is similar to Lakshmipati Tirtha, who is traveling and okay. And then one more question was the Nandanacharya. What is the significance? Always hide and seek happens in that house. Nityananda Prabhu also hid there. I think one more Advaitacharya also hid. Somebody also hid there, and Lord Chaitanya pulled out.
Yeah, I can't remember who that was. Someone else. If it was Advaita Acharya, it might have been when he came when all the Panchatattva had assembled. Advaita Acharya was the last. After Nityananda Prabhu came, then they're all doing Sankirtan, and Advaita Acharya is in Shantipur, and I think he also went to Nandanacharya Bhavan first.
That's why they all hide in that house.
Interesting, huh? Yeah, so that's, if you have to hide sometime, that's a good place. Seems to be the authorized place. It's just behind. I have an apartment just on the other, just like, now there's a lot more buildings around there, but when I was first in Mayapur, that was the only, just here that you could hear when I was first in Mayapur, you could see Ganga from my apartment there. Now there's so many buildings. But we could hear that program every day. Beautiful arti they do there, Mangalarti and Sandhya arti. shall we conclude for this week?
Anybody else wants to ask any question? Please raise your hand.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you in a week's time. Carry on with Vishrup Sannyas.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
We are doing a small convocation today, giving some certificates.
Okay. On what? The Shastra course?
Same Bhakti Shastri.
Bhakti Shastri.
Yeah,
Great. Yeah.
That's so 31st, distribute some.
Pleasing for Prabhupada.
Yeah, distribute some Bhagavad Gitas and
Yes.
and also we have this construction of the college building is somewhat picking up now. The foundation is nicely done.
But construction of college building, you have to think of a name. Mangalore ISKCON Vidyalaya, something.
Yeah,
college building.
It will be very nice if you can suggest some name we can propose to.
Okay. Well, you can ask Guru Maharaj. He'll suggest a few. Get his opinion. Suggest a few names.
Yeah, you can suggest us.
I'll give some suggestions.
Yeah.
Shall we hear the question of Niharika?
Yes, Niharika.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, how much years was Nityananda Mahaprabhu?
I couldn't hear.
Niharika, you can repeat. I think he's asking how old was Nityananda Prabhu when Lord Chaitanya was born.
I think it's 12. I think it's 12. It's either 9 or 12, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's around 10 years. He was around 10 years older.
Okay, Niharika.
10 or 12.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you all very much. We'll keep in touch. Hare Krishna.
Plan a trip to Mangalore anytime.
That's wonderful.
Okay, you've not seen the place in a long time. Maybe after you come
Which
back.
place?
Mangalore.
Yeah, okay. Keep me updated on the opening or anything like that, or what we almost came. Then we changed. So yeah, keep it. Any important event in February. I'll be back in India in February. So after that, we'll be interested to come.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Dandavat pranam.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for
Prabhuji,
thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, धन्यवाद.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, ದಂಡವತ್ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So today we have a convocation ceremony. We have a few things. I don't think you are in Mangalore. Those who are in Mangalore, please do visit us. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, ದಂಡವತ್ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat
Thank you,
pranam.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranam, everybody.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
So tune in the evening program, 6 o'clock we will start, and we do little kirtan. We'll not go till night 12 o'clock, but some kirtan, so that we can start New Year fresh in the morning tomorrow. Try to join everybody. Mangalarti tomorrow. New Year with the Mangalarti, that will be good. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, pranam. Yesterday Ashwarya Mataji told us that Mataji should not say Dandavat pranam. Only pranam is enough.
That's okay. Take it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna
Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.